So thank you all so much for joining. Lovely to see you. We are in the second last class of our 12-week series. It's amazing. And what we've covered to date, we've covered everything to do with the anatomy of breath, the philosophy of meditation. And we built over time an understanding of three-part yogic breath. And then we started to explore breath and meditation for calming and breath and meditation for excitation of the nervous system. So last week, if you're on the call, we did a exciting breath called Bastrika. And it's one of the more Black Diamond-ish breath practices in yoga. And we did a meditation practice on the concept of affirmation. And we also did a meditation that was all about dissolving the ego. In that case, what we'll do tonight is we'll do a calming breath called Nadi Shodhana, or alternate nostril breath. We've done a little bit of it before, but we'll maybe explore some different breath ratios today. And also the idea for meditation, we'll do a concept meditation called dependent arising after we do a little bit of a warm-up meditation. So that's the game plan. And if you haven't already done so, feel free to take a moment just to make yourself comfortable. If you've been using a training journal to take notes about your experiences through these classes, feel free to grab that. And of course, hydration. So with all of that in place, we'll come into our seated meditative posture with the spine very neutral. And then the hands resting easily, eyes closed. And just taking that delicious moment to pause all of the frenetic activity of your day so that you can enter into this space of total relaxed awareness. And the most beautiful thing about our meditation practice, it's like we're carving out time in our lives that is disconnected from anything that's been anxiety provoking or upsetting. This is your time to just be at peace. And this is also your time to supercharge your ninja powers of breath and meditation for peak performance. So please take a moment to scan the body for any areas of tension or unnecessary holding of the muscles. And if you find this, with your next exhale, soften that part of the body. With each breath, feel yourself becoming unburdened by any unnecessary muscular tension. And you may notice as you do this, that naturally the breath becomes a little slower. And your nervous system starts to ease into just a calm state of focus. Now maintaining eyes closed. We'll bring our palms together and we'll rub the palms together to create some friction and warm up those palms so that when we place them over our eyes, they're nice and warm. And 3 times together, we'll inhale and exhale, open mouth, audible sigh, like this. We inhale and exhale. 2 more, inhaling and exhale. And last time, inhaling and exhale. Opening your eyes and bringing your hands back down. And we can begin our practice. Let's do a little bit of stretching for the neck and the upper torso. Starting first by taking a hand to the opposite side of your head and just gently stretching out the side of your neck. To go deeper in the pose, you can take the opposite hand diagonally behind you, press into your seat or the floor. Good. And then coming back to neutral, take your chin towards the shoulder attached to the hand you just had on the side of your head. And as you do that, you're going to take your fingers just above the collarbone and just kind of getting a gauge of where the muscles are that we're going to stretch as we move the head up and back on the diagonal. So these are the scalene muscles. And the finger is just a place where we can confirm that they're stretching. Because it's incredible how linked sensation is to the nervous system. Often just by drawing our awareness to parts of the body and then deciding what we want to do with that part of the body, we can influence it. And then coming back to center, same thing, opposite side. So hand comes to the outer side of the head, just above the ear. We draw our neck into this really nice lateral stretch. And then coming back to neutral, taking the chin to shoulder, and then your fingers just above that collarbone as you take your head on the diagonal up and back. And coming back to center. And sorry, I just realized my text message in there chimed. Now from this centered position, we're going to do a little bit of slow movement with the head. Just rolling the head on a half moon from shoulder to shoulder. And if you want to do this really consciously, every time the chin comes forward and down, that would be an exhale. Every time it comes up to the side, that would be an inhale. So exhale down, inhale up, exhale down, inhale up. And then coming back to neutral for a little bit of shoulder circles. So just rolling the shoulders up and back. And then interlacing your fingers. And we're going to extend the fingers out on the diagonal to one side as we arch the spine and drop the chin. So you may feel a stretch in the back of the neck, maybe even the back of the shoulders, in between the shoulder blades. And coming back up, neutral. Now, if you have an interlace where you always put the same finger on top, I would like you to try switching it up. It may feel really odd, but we do that just to create symmetry in the body. And extending the fingers away from us, we round the spine, drop the chin, breathe easy. And then with your next inhale, we'll bring both arms up and overhead and stretch them back behind you. And then one of my favorites, we're going to interlace the fingers behind the back and then roll the shoulders up and back as you extend your fingertips down towards the floor behind you. So we're stretching the front of the shoulders and the chest. And if you want to go deeper, lifting your gaze, lifting your chin. Excellent. And releasing. And any last little bit of movement that you feel you need before we enter into our first breath practice. So Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. As I mentioned last time we did it, this is a great way to be able to control the rate of the breath. And most of the yoga breath practices either manipulate the ratio of inhale to exhale or vice versa. So with Nadi Shodhana, it makes it easier for us to slow down the exhale relative to the inhale, which is the magic. That's how we can get that nice calming effect in the body. So we'll start first with just a little bit of three-part yogic breathing so that we can work the entire part of the diaphragm and the thoracic cavity. So I'm going to move the camera down a little bit so that you can see how I move through the sequence. First, on the inhale, it's going to be belly, ribs, and then collarbone is the last thing that moves. Exhale, collarbone, ribs, and belly, like so. So please close your eyes, and we'll move through this sequence of breath 5 times. So we empty the lungs, inhaling from the bottom to the top, and exhaling top to bottom. Continuing in your own time. And returning to your normal breath, opening the eyes. So Nadi Shodhana, we create what's called a mudra. Just situate our hands basically so that we create a device that can anchor the nostrils independently. So for some people, this is tricky. You can do it more than one way. So you could just bring your first and second finger down to touch the palm, your thumb, and then your fourth and fifth fingers are your anchor points for the nostrils. For some people, they put those two fingers on the forehead, and then same fingers doing the same job, but a little bit easier than curling them under. The idea is we're going to hook the elbow of the right hand in towards the chest so that we don't have to use too much muscular energy to hold it there. And one full round of Nadi Shodhana is going to involve blocking the right nostril. So you inhale through the left. We pause at the top of the inhale, block the left nostril, and we exhale through the right nostril. Then we inhale into the right nostril, pause at the top of the inhale, and then exhale through the left nostril. And that full sequence, that's considered one round of Nadi Shodhana. Now, if you want to get really fancy, and I'll invite you to try this after we've done the breath hold at the top, you can try a breath hold at the bottom of the exhale. This is called box breathing, but it's box breathing plus Nadi Shodhana, which is a little bit more complicated. So please situate yourself in a comfortable meditative position and without breath retention at the bottom of the exhale, just a breath retention at the top of the inhale. I'm going to guide you through a ratio of 1.51. So starting by emptying the lungs and blocking the right nostril, we inhale, block the left nostril, and exhale right. Inhale right. Pause. Block the right nostril, exhale left. Again, inhaling left. Block left and pause. Exhale right. Inhale right. Block right, pause. Exhale left. In through the left. Pause. Out through the right. In through the right. Pause. Out through the left. In left. Pause. Out right. In right. Pause. Out left. In left. Pause. Out right. In right. Pause. Out left. And now, returning to your normal breath. But keeping your eyes closed. We'll do another round of 5. But this time, if you'd like to add a breath hold at the bottom of the exhale, feel free to do so. I'll guide the first 2 by adding the pause at the bottom of the exhale. But please, if that does not feel good, don't do it. Just go back to the breath practice that's helping you achieve the goal of deep calming. So creating our mudra, hooking the elbow into the chest. All together, we empty the lungs to begin. Inhaling left. Pause. Exhale right. Pause. Inhale right. Pause. Exhale left. Pause. Inhale left. Pause. Exhale right. Pause. Inhale right. Pause. Exhale left. Pause. And now please continue 3 more rounds in your own chosen timing. And when you finish that 3rd round, keeping eyes closed and bowing your head a little bit, just to relax the muscles in the back of the neck. And as you start to settle back into your normal breath rhythm, just notice how you feel. And opening the eyes and bringing your attention back. And just checking in. How is everybody doing with that one? How do you guys feel? Now, it won't hurt my feelings if it didn't calm you down. Actually, that would be awesome if you'd be willing to share that, either by typing in the chat or feel free to unmute. Okay, everyone's so mellow, they're sleeping. That's good. So I'd like to do Nadi Shodhana one more time, and this is the double Black Diamond version. Okay, awesome. Ronan is feeling very calm and zen. Good. So double Black Diamond version of this practice is a box breath, full box breath. So instead of a ratio of 1.5, 1.5, it'll be 1, 1, 1, 1. So just to clarify, if your count, your natural comfortable count of inhale is 4, then your inhale is 4, your holding of the breath at the top of the inhale is 4, your exhale is 4, your holding at the bottom of the exhale is 4, and we're doing full 3-part yogic breath. So all of those things put together. So before we begin that, moving the body any way you need to. If the legs have become tired, you can shift the way they're situated. And we'll close our eyes to begin. Again, creating the mudra. All together, we empty the lungs. I'll talk you through the first 2. Inhaling left. Hold. Exhale right. Hold. Inhale left. Hold. Exhale right. Hold. Inhale left. Hold. Exhale right. Hold. Continuing for another 3 rounds in your own timing. And when you've completed the 3rd round, again, just taking a moment to check in. And then opening your eyes. So did anyone go for the ratio 1-1-1-1? Did anyone do the full double Black Diamond Nadi Shodhana practice? Yep. Okay, awesome. Great. Now, the interesting thing about box breathing is it's meant to create this neutral state of calm focus. Because as we hold the breath at the top of the inhale, that calms. As we hold the breath at the bottom of the exhale, though, that creates autonomic nervous system arousal. So it creates this interesting equilibrium, kind of a middle ground. Now, what we're going to do in a moment is we're going to go really deep into 2 rounds of a long meditation. So for anyone who hasn't done meditation before, and there are a few people on the call who haven't been in this class before, welcome. So good to see you. Meditation is really just paying attention to what's going on in the body and what the sense organs are picking up. The goal is not to make the mind quiet or to have no thoughts. That's impossible. The idea is to train your attention to be able to focus on whatever you want it to focus on and to be able to sustain that focused attention for long periods of time. Because when we can do that, when we have full control over moving the attention wherever we want it to go, that's when we can leverage peak performance. We can trigger a flow state, we can trigger a relaxation state, we can trigger a mindful present state. We become superheroes. We become incredibly self-actualized, as psychologist Abraham Maslow called that term. Okay, I have a little bit of feedback. Didn't notice much difference between the 1-1-1-1 ratio and the previous one. Okay. Cool observation. So first, meditation. We're going to be just focusing the attention in the present moment. But to do this, we'll use the breath as an anchor. So every time we find that our mind gets pulled into a sensation or a thought, or even a thought about the thought or judgment, we just bring the attention back over and over and over again. Now, the next level of this that we're going to explore tonight is I would like you to really observe what's going on when you're completely focused in the present moment. This is interesting. I'm not going to give any hints or things specifically to look for. This is really personalized practice. But the goal is just to bring the attention into the present, keep it there as long as you can. And when it gets pulled away, just bring it back. And the question is, in that real focused present moment, what do you observe? So upright posture and closing your eyes. Now, periodically through this meditation, I'll be talking just to guide you back if you get sidetracked. We start by noticing the breath. And you may pay careful attention to each inhale and exhale by labeling them. Now, if you found your attention is drifted, just come back. Resting in this state of full mindful presence in this moment. And just for these last few cycles of breath, paying attention to what exists in that absolute present moment. And now opening your eyes. Okay, so here's the big question. What do you notice? What do you observe when you're completely focused in the present moment and you're not paying attention? Pardon me, you're not captured by memories of things that have happened or projections into the future or getting caught up in things like sensations or thoughts or judgments. What do you notice? So interesting. Nothing. Yeah. It's way easier to just be, says Andrea. I like that. Ronan says nothing. And indeed, that's where this idea in Buddhism, the concept of nothingness, comes from. Because if the mind does not latch onto anything like a sensation, a thought, a judgment, a memory, a projection, in fact, it's like there's nothing there, including your sense of self. In the Dzogchen Buddhist tradition, they call this shunyata, the innate great perfection, which is a really beautiful and interesting concept. Now we're going to carry this forward into our second meditation, where again, the goal is going to be really presently focused, but more you're presently focused on my voice. Well, there'll be periods of time where I'm going to be guiding you. There'll be periods of time where it'll just be quiet, and you have the opportunity to, again, focus your attention in the present moment. So if anything has become really uncomfortable, feel free to shift. And when you're ready, closing your eyes. Our second meditation is called Dependent Arising. This is also a meditation from the Buddhist tradition. And the goal of this meditation is to reflect on the causal relationship between all things, and where this relates to peak performance for athletes. By recognizing how everything in our environment is linked together, we're much better at not getting caught up in things that really don't matter. Things like the minute kind of good and bad parts of our training season. The label of good and bad dissolves when you really reflect on the interconnectedness, the relationship between all of the things that make up your daily experience. So we begin by first paying attention to whatever is beneath you. It could be a wheelchair, a chair, a mattress, a cushion, the floor. Whatever's beneath your body. Take a moment to consider all of the things that came into its manufacture. How did that object get to you? To have a common point of reference, let's all begin by thinking of the floor. The floor beneath you, and whatever building you're in, is constructed by people. Imagine the people that were involved in building the floor beneath you. The carpenters, the construction foreman, the architect who drove the designs. That very thing that is supporting your body right now came from materials that were sourced by people. Imagine in your mind all of the people that were involved in building and transporting the materials that make up the floor beneath you. And now think about the materials themselves. If it's a wood floor, thinking of the trees that it came from. A concrete floor, thinking of the rock that it came from. And then thinking about all of the forces involved in making those materials. The tree is dependent on sunlight, water, minerals, and soil. And the rock is dependent on stardust in the universe coalescing into a planet. And the planet, part of a much, much bigger system, the solar system. And that coming from the universe and tracing all the way back to the Big Bang. This is the concept of dependent arising of objects. And there's another layer, dependent arising of knowledge. The knowledge of making that floor. Modern construction practices that evolved from many generations of craftspeople, building, experimenting, passing on knowledge. Before them, our very early ancestors, developing the capacity for language and the ability to pass on thoughts from one to another. And back and back. Now, returning your thoughts to the object that's beneath you. And I'd like you please to imagine all of the people that were involved in its construction, and imagining these are all people who have lives, people who care about them, triumphs and struggles. And the people before them that taught them how to do it. And the people before those people, and so on. Really thinking carefully about the materials, where all of that came from, the knowledge about how to source it. And drawing that chain of cause and effect all the way back to the very beginning point. And as we do this, we realize that every single person and thing that we interact with has a long history of things, people, materials, knowledge that are a linked chain that spans back through time all the way to the very beginning of the universe, that nothing exists independently. And now, I'd like you to please think of yourself as an athlete. The athlete you are today in this moment, sitting in meditation. Over the next couple minutes in silence, I'd invite you please to do the same mental exercise, thinking about all of the people, the experiences, the knowledge, and the resources that have brought you to this moment. And bringing your attention back to this moment and this breath. The incredible thing about taking the moment to reflect on all of the things that have happened in your life, bringing you to this moment, is that it really demonstrates that existence is a team sport, that nobody is in this alone. And one final thought, how can you operate in the world in such a way that your ripple effect moving forward in time is a positive one? And opening your eyes. And coming back. For myself, the first time I was introduced to dependent arising meditation, it was in a book by the Dalai Lama. And I think in that moment, it just immediately made me realize that absolutely everything about my existence is intimately, not just a thought experiment, but intimately connected to the experiences of every single person that comes before me. And in that sense, all of the kind of trivial things that in that particular moment I was upset about. I think that day I had had an argument with my partner, and I was really fixated on that and terribly upset. And then I did dependent arising meditation. And geez, I couldn't be upset about a little argument anymore. And Ronan says, and how things are often greater than the sum of their parts. Absolutely. And it also really makes me conscious of what I do in my life now, that it's not just about me. I'm not isolated in my existence. Everything I do, every action I take, everything I write down or communicate to other people is propagating forward in time and affecting many, many other people. I'm part of this chain of causality. And I think that's super cool. It makes me a really conscious human being when I remind myself of that. So we'll conclude our practice there. And again, I want to thank you all so much for making time to practice with me today.